interactions. The staff that I've come into contact, my colleagues, past and present, I've learned so much from people in the past, and just rattling off the people I have served with: Busky, Larson, Allen, Hill, Beanbaugh, everybody up in the dais today. I thank you for support or challenging me to think more or better. And I think it was it's good. It's been a good experience. I've got all sorts of plans. Even after I get out of here tonight, I was telling Alderman Gallo I planted 30 tomato plants right before I came up here today. So I'm excited about getting back in the garden. I've got a kid getting married in July, so I've got a lot to turn my attention to after I'm done with council. But once again, thanks for the opportunity to serve. It's been a great 8 years, and I'll be around. Thank you.
Any other board reports? This is the part of the meeting where the meeting is now open to the public for 20 minutes. In order to secure the rights of the citizens of the city to a fair and just representation before the elected officials, and to guarantee to the elected officials an order and dignified form in which conduct the city's business, no person shall be allowed to engage in any activity that will disrupt or the orderly proceedings of the city council. For rules of procedures, the public is to address the city council, and the fact that no member of the city council responds does not mean that the city council or any member thereof agrees or disagrees with their comments. In order to attain this objective, the following rules of conduct are hereby established. Any person who seeks to address the city council at this time for public comment shall be permitted to speak only upon recognition of the presiding officer, and such person shall adhere to the following provisions. Each person addressing the city council shall state their name and address for the record. Each person shall be granted no more than 5 minutes of the 20 minutes in order to address the city council. Questions and or commentary shall be limited to the city business. Comments supporting or opposing a nominated person's candidacy for elective office of the city shall be out of order. Commentary shall be directed to the presiding officer unless the presiding officer permits the individual to address the council members or other city officers present. Discussion shall take place in a professional manner which displays mutual respect. Profanity shall not be used in any form. The first signatory for tonight is Vinny, 2011 Martin. Topic is garden. Yes. Thank you for coming forward tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of myself and the Royal Mills community here, we'd like to thank you for opening the gardening plots and for us. And I would like to say, they've been a great success for us. Since we started in 2004, it's been a very success. And I know that Ralph Manager is leaving, but I'd like to take over if it's possible. I would like to take over the community garden if it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. The next signatory is Greg Swiderski. Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
It's Greg Swiderski, 2707 St. James in Rolling Meadows. I'll make this brief. I like to read, and currently I'm reading Jimmy Buffett's 50 Years of Being a Pirate. And I found a great quote that I think not only adheres to the current council, the future council, but our constituents. Your life is not a performance.
Yeah, I have one of those. Hi, dude.
Who's that? Big Bird, who's that? Emma.
Who's this?
Oh. We got it. We got it. We go. We got it. All right, we go. Oh my God. What did he say? Wait. Two, because you're 2 years old. Do you want to hold her?
Not really.
Welcome back to Cord Cutting today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including streaming is getting more expensive as another streaming service is seeing its prices go up. ESPN is now partially owned by the NFL. We'll tell you what's happening there and when you can expect more NFL content to come to ESPN's new streaming service. And Disney reported very strong numbers. Now, they don't report streaming subscribers anymore, but they do report revenue, and it's a lot. Hundreds of millions of dollars earned, with over $4 million coming into Disney from streaming every single day in the end of 2025. We'll tell you what's happening here in these stories and more coming up. First of all, if you want to learn more about any of these stories, check out the show notes and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story there, so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinion. Love to hear from you. If you like what we do here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, let YouTube know you enjoy what we do here as I give you my opinions to try to help you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. With that said, let's dive into it with a quick update on yesterday's story. I talked in yesterday's video about Spectrum losing customers for the entire 2025 year, and I mentioned how they've been buying up other companies and expanding into more rural areas to try to offset losses, which has helped them quite a bit. They even added some subscribers at the end of last year in the fourth quarter. Spectrum reached out with some additional details. Two things here. I said companies added in the fourth quarter. They only bought one company in the fourth quarter, but did buy multiple companies throughout the year. And they estimate that they added as many as 5,000 subscribers by expanding into rural markets, and then also adding new customers by buying the small cable provider there. Now, 39% of that they expect to be video customers, though they didn't have an exact number. They weren't able to give me a firm number on that. But that did significantly help them cut back on their losses with that. Now, they did add residential customers in the fourth quarter, but lost business customers during that period with that. So 55,000 customers added as much as from expanding into rural underserved markets that they hadn't previously served, and by going out there and buying a competitor company in a small market. So here you go, a little correction they wanted me to point out on that with it, because I mentioned mostly of that being buying a competitor. That was me misspeaking when I was talking also about the expansion into rural markets with that. So just wanted to correct that there. A lot of those ads came from expanding into rural markets that they had never served before and have been previously underserved on the internet. So a little disclaimer there with that. Still, overall though, they lost internet subscribers. Even with most of these ads being internet and most of Spectrum's internet business losing internet customers, it's interesting to see cord cutting 2.0 growing rapidly as people look for cheaper or other options for internet than from cable TV companies, as Comcast also reported losing both TV and internet customers in 2025. All right, let's dive into the other stories. Crunchyroll is raising its price. Another streaming service going up in price from $7.99 a month to $9.90 a month, with their higher end tier going from $11.99 a month to $13.99 a month, and the ultimate tier going from $15.99 a month to $17.99 a month. Crunchyroll's price going up. They've also cut back. They shut down their free ad-supported one on their site, so no longer you can go to their site and stream free content there. Though there's still the Crunchyroll channel streaming on free ad-supported streaming services out there, but no longer in the Crunchyroll app will you find free ad-supported content with this. So check out Crunchyroll going up in price, joining a growing number of streaming services, raising its price. Also, ESPN, speaking of money, lost over $100 million or $110 million because of its contract fight with ESPN and YouTube TV, along with the other Disney channels. Disney reported
That funny. Yeah, donkey. It's cool. Ooh. Let's go, Bonnie. What's that? Move over, Bonnie. McDonald's.
Merci.
ESPN suffering a substantial financial setback amounting to $110 million, primarily attributed to the YouTube TV contract. It's estimated at the time somewhere between 10 and 11 million subscribers on YouTube TV lost ESPN for a couple weeks. That ultimately resulted in Disney reaching a new TV deal with YouTube TV and will be adding ESPN Unlimited. A lot of people have asked about that. When is that happening? All we know is sometime this year. Rumors have been in the first half of the year. That's a rumor. But they say by the end of this year, ESPN Unlimited will be integrated directly into the YouTube TV app. So I don't understand why they just don't give you temporary login, allow you to use your YouTube TV login credentials on the ESPN app, but they don't. They're waiting until it's fully integrated into the YouTube TV app. And YouTube TV is not alone in that. Comcast is also without access, even though they have struck a deal to add it. It hasn't been built in yet, as Disney is taking their time on this and seems to want to go the path of fully integrating it into the app versus just giving customers a login to access the ESPN Unlimited content. And speaking of Disney and streaming, with that, Disney reported it made $450 million in revenue in just 3 months in 2025 calendar year. Now, one important note here, Disney does its fiscal calendar a little different. What we consider to be the last 3 months of 2024 is considered the first, or 2025, I apologize, is considered the first quarter of 2026 for them. So in October, November, and December, Disney added or generated $450 million in revenue. That works out to be just under $5 million a day in revenue from that, 4.89 million to be exact. That's a lot of money. Huge jump in revenue, jumping 72% year over year, I believe that is, with that. Now, a few interesting things. Disney is no longer going to report subscriber numbers, joining a growing number of streaming services not reporting subscriber numbers anymore. Instead, they're focusing on revenue with this. So we'll have to keep an eye on this, how it plays out. But very good numbers from Disney there with it. I believe that these are Hulu on demand. Hulu Live TV will be reported with Fubo coming up here soon, because it's now a part of a joint venture between Fubo and Disney. That sees Disney own a majority of the two streaming services, but be managed now by the Fubo leadership with it. All right, and with that though, Disney will also be expanding the amount of content that is offered from the NFL on ESPN Unlimited. This comes as ESPN is now 10% owned by Disney, or the NFL, excuse me. Disney owns the majority of ESPN still, along with other partners. With this, the NFL has taken 10% stake in ESPN in exchange for selling to ESPN the NFL Network, NFL Red Zone, and other content. That received federal government approval for the merger and is now complete. And Disney will now take full control of the NFL Network and, or I should say, its subsidiary ESPN will, before the start of the next NFL season for both the NFL Network and the NFL Red Zone. No word on changes then, but Disney says you'll see more NFL content now on streaming. I'm assuming they're talking about ESPN Unlimited with that. And they also said they hope to strike more deals to get ESPN to have more NFL content. And they said the NFL could opt out of their current TV contracts as soon as 2030. So in just about 4 years from now, we could see the NFL come to ESPN in a much bigger way. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But in the meantime, look for a lot more ESPN clip content and more from the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone, probably appearing in ESPN Unlimited. Exactly what that looks like, we'll have to wait and see. All right, if you're looking for fiber internet, AT&T is expanding in 32 states. They bought a competitor company out there with this, Lumen Technologies. It was offered its internet service in 32 states, and this will help AT&T expand its markets there, and from there, expand out from Lumen's markets with them. And with this, like Washington and Oregon and other states that previously had no AT&T fiber internet options will soon have it. And in states where they already have it, they'll be able to expand the markets through that. This comes as AT&T's been buying up these assets in places like Denver, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, Portland, Minnesota, St. Paul, and more to expand its fiber offerings there. So check it out if you're an AT&T customer. Go there. Question, anybody here have AT&T fiber? How happy are you with it? I'd love to know. AT&T is one of the options where I live. I've never used it though, but leave me a comment. Let me know. Do you like it? What do you think of AT&T Fiber? It's coming to a lot more areas soon. If you're a Lumen customer, they run under several different brand names for their internet. Immediately today, no changes, but you'll probably be getting contacted in the future to rebrand your service from whatever it's called to AT&T in the future. And you'll probably see things like the app and customer service and all that move over to AT&T at some point down the road. All right, well, let's keep moving along. Philo's added 2 new free channels with this. Well, after lockup, and Acorn TV Mysteries are now streaming 24/7 on Philo. This comes as Philo, the discounted live TV streaming service, has been expanding the amount of content it has, in part by striking deals like offering HBO Max, for example, but also in part by offering more content from its partners. In this case, Love After Lockup and Acorn TV Mysteries streaming 24/7 now as a live channel on Philo. If you're a Philo subscriber, you should see it in your guide right now. If you're using a favorite or some type of sorted guide, you may have to change your settings to see it. All right, if you own a Roku and NBC is partnered to launch a dedicated Olympics area. Now, the Olympics are coming up here very quickly for the Winter Olympics, starting February 6th, running through the 22nd. And with this, Roku users will find on their home screen a new dedicated tab on the left side to go to an Olympic area where you find highlights, clips, and more from sporting events in the Olympics there with it in partnership with NBC Sports. Check it out there, link in the show if you want to learn more. But with this, much like you find like NFL and college football and other sports hubs, you'll have a whole dedicated area for the Olympics to quickly find content related to the Olympics on your Roku. All right, today in TV history, 31 years ago today, Seinfeld's 100th episode celebrates the show about nothing. Seinfeld hit the 100th episode mark in 1995. It's hard to believe it's been so long. It feels like this just happened, especially with the show going off the air like last year. But Seinfeld, one of the most popular shows ever created, aired a special 1-hour episode with it, looking back. Now, in syndication, it often gets split into 2 parts with it, but originally aired as a 1-hour special to celebrate Seinfeld's 100th episode. And I have to say, Seinfeld was probably one of the last shows that seemed like everybody watched. That was must-watch TV, as they say on NBC. And that when it ended, it was such massive news that I don't know if we're ever going to get anything quite like it. Game of Thrones was pretty big, and other shows like that were pretty big. But the cultural phenomenons that we saw when in the 90s, 80s, 70s, and before, when something like MASH came to an end, and like 100 million people would watch that live when it happened. I don't know if we're ever going to get that again. For one, on-demand world means not everybody's sitting down at the same moment to watch it. 2, there's just so much content out there. Everybody watches what they want more and has access to more of what they want. Not that that's a bad thing. But it also means we're probably never going to see a series finale, maybe not in my lifetime, I could be wrong here, that brings in 100 million like we saw with places like MASH on it, and even big ones like Seinfeld and others. Let me know what you think with that. And were you a fan of Seinfeld? Let me know. All right, if you have Verizon's 5G home internet, they're rolling out a big update you need to be aware of. Between now and March 31st, depending on where you live, they're going to be rolling out to the different markets a big update to the network to optimize it to better handle traffic and improve speeds and performance. Now, with this, a few things are happening. One, the phone number attached to your 5G home internet. Yes, you have a phone number, even though it doesn't work. It's to manage their system. They use phone numbers, even if you're a data-only customer, will be changing. Now, they say they were going to notify you in advance of at least 40 hours beforehand that this change is coming. And they don't think that you'll notice more than maybe a momentary reboot of your router or at least dropping your router. But if your router doesn't come back online, they say just reboot your router and everything should be fine. But with this update, you should notice improved speed and performance on Verizon's 5G home internet network. Exactly what they're doing on the back end, they haven't really said, other than it's an optimization and improvement of their network that requires them to change everybody's phone number attached to their accounts with them. Now, this only impacts 5G home internet customers. If you have a cell phone, a texting plan, a voice plan, your phone number is not changing. It better not. But they say it won't. This only impacts 5G home internet customers, and you probably even won't notice a difference unless you look at your bill and may see a different account number or phone number, I should say, with that. But let me know, has this happened in your market? They say starting now, rolling up through the end of March, depending on where you live, they'll be slowly rolling out this feature, and they'll warn you about the middle of the night update to your box and network where you live when it gets closer to wherever it happens where you live. All right, let's keep moving along. It's a lot happening this week. Speaking of this week, Disney, Hulu, and ESPN have all added a ton of new content. James did a full story breaking out everything new on Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN. If you want to see what's new this week there, check out the show notes down below and in the first pin comment for all of that. And with that, that's it for today. Hey, did you know I have a second YouTube channel where I dive into a wide range of non-cord cutting related content? I know I've been cross-sharing it a little bit, but there's a second channel specifically made to let me kind of wander with different thoughts and different ideas related to the world and interesting news stories that stand out to me. Things like big changes at Walmart, the battle of Amazon, cutting out UPS and others. And hey, why is the FCC maybe making a big change that impacts you? That's where I kind of dive into different stories like that. Check out the show notes to find out the breakdown with Luke channel. If you enjoy videos like this, they're just like this, except they're on non-cord cutting topics, about everyday things that impact our lives that just stand out to me. Check it out. Link in the show notes. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers there. Would love your help to push over that 40,000.